you guys. Welcome to the OTC Club. Thank you guys for joining us. If you're not already following, please follow Money Flow Mel. We're super excited to have her here, and we can't wait to hear her story and her trading strategies that she will be sharing, hopefully. So you guys make sure to follow all the hosts and Mel, and we'll go ahead and get started. Doll, you could go ahead and start off.
All right, Mel. So the first question I have for you, I've been peeking around and I've been hanging with you on spaces and things like that. The first question I have for you is, how did Mel get started? What I want to know about your life and how you got to this point.
My life.
Your
Yeah.
actual life. Like, who is
Okay.
Mel? Who is Mel?
So I wish I had a better story. I don't know that I necessarily have one. I have a little caveat that I'll throw in there that may throw you through a loop, but I'm just a regular girl. I mean, I had aspirations to go to college. I've always been attracted to finance, and I guess for me, it was always the fundamental side that I thought you had to do. So just a little quick look back into earlier 20s. I was able to get a job with T. Rowe Price in Baltimore. I was really blessed to be able to have that job and really wanted to take that. And then life happened and ended up back in Texas, which is where I am originally from. And again, the fundamental side, like I always wanted to do something with finance, and fundamentals is not something that I follow, and it trips me up. And I didn't know that there was any other side, I guess, to trading ahead of that. That would be, technical, money flow, anything else outside of just like really, it seemed like you had to have that college, degree education. And while there was an attraction for it, it just seemed like it wasn't something that was going to fit me because I didn't finish college. I didn't get a chance to like go all the way while I tried. It just didn't happen. And that's sometimes the course. So a little caveat with that was there was a little bit of a life change. I came back to Texas, was working a few executive administrative jobs. But in the meantime, I had a passion towards poker. And I bailed
I love
ship.
poker, by the way. I love poker.
Yeah. So I said, can we cuss? Or I said, F it all.
Yes, you can curse on here.
So fuck it all. Fuck it all. And I bailed the 9 to 5, and I just had to get free. I had to do something. And I opened a underground poker room in Dallas.
Ooh, I love that, Mel. Oh my God, spicy.
So I had 0 players. I had nothing, and I had to hustle, and I did. We went from 0 players to running games 5 days a week, at least running 24 hours. I was a dealer. I was a host. I was a cook. I was a waitress. I was in everything, but I loved it. And
Molly Bloom.
Yes, Miss Molly. Miss Molly.
Molly.
But mainly because it was something that I could drive. Like I knew if I was going to make this work, there was nobody else that was going to be able to do that. I had to do this. And if anything was going to happen, I was going to drive that. And that rush, and it wasn't anything with what I was doing, what it was just that whole like, you were doing this, and it not be for a bonus or a pay raise or anything like that, which you get bogged down with. That rush was completely like, I'm up. I slept 2 hours. I've dealt all fucking night. I mean, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. I slept and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and we've got another game and I have to cook, I have to waitress, I have to deal cards, I've got to do everything. But it's just that little thing that I don't really talk about much, or that most people don't know about me. But it was the drive, and it really was. But more than anything, I guess that's where, life happens and things happen, and that closed down, that stopped that, and then I moved to San Antonio, and my husband was working in the oil field before the boom, and we had to be there with all that. So I just took an executive assistant position in a company, and it was like working hard for that money, like just that mind fog of nothing, and just, ugh.
That sounds like a wild ride, Mel. You say I'm just a regular girl, and I'm like, dude, this is a movie right here.
Yeah, it does sound like.
Were you still?
Yeah,
Were
she
you still
sounded like she was
executive
describing a
assistant
show.
were you still an executive assistant at a bank or finance or what?
No, my husband ended up coming down to San Antonio, and that was right at the same time they were. It was the oil and gas boom. So you talk about just in general, most people making $300 a week, to where you come down here and you were making $1,000 a week just because you had to have bodies. And we had, or he had, a little bit more of an edge with having a more of, an experience, but it was just that kind of money that, like, I'm going. And so if you were able to get in on that a few years ago, you ain't getting that money right now. It's not going to happen again, because that was a big part of what dropped the oil and gas industry, was because, it's not something that's based off of technology or it's just a produce.
Yeah, gallons and gallons of it.
Yes, but then all that went sideways, and yeah. Well, yeah. No, this is all after that. Okay. Yeah, after that. But I mean, so I had to go where my young family was, and this is where I am currently, and this is where we're making our life. I got on with an O&G company, executive assistant, and it just wasn't really like, it was just the drag as far as all that came. And, I don't even know what brought me back in. It was some kind of, I don't even know, OTC, and look, and I don't diss OTC. I think everybody.
It's okay. No. You can speak candidly here. We know people have their opinions, but you can speak candidly here.
I'm gonna wink to my girl Tigress, who's in the audience, and I appreciate her support and sharing that. Look, stay in your lane. Whatever you do to find your way, you stick with that. And unfortunately, it was not mine. It fucked me big time.
Right. Yeah.
So I can't even remember the ticker.
It tends to do that to people.
Yes. Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. So it means that, like, you experience that, and then you go, no, I'm going to take a deeper dive and make sure I personally understand before I follow other people, or you go find something else. But everybody, and that's what is amazing about FinTwit community, because you'll find those gems along the way that, like, that is their lane. And if you find that, oh my God, you're lucky. Like, keep that. That is important. Those people that find their little niche, and, like, that is just what they're all about. And they're not trying to be here and there and over and this over here. And I can't keep up with all of it. But I love to follow those people that is their specialty, because I can still feed off of that and learn from that and grow from that. So, it's amazing when you can come across, those people that have that fine-tuned niche, and that's definitely something to celebrate and keep in touch with.
Oh,
Yeah, I wanted to ask you too before you got, because you started touching on trading. So we want to know, like, how'd you start learning it? And then what do you think that lesson was like initially, to where you said like the OTC you figured out so fast, like, all right, that didn't work out well for me. And then, you've moved on to trading something different. So what lesson did you learn? And like, why would you say like it effed you, Like what happened?
I think just because when I'm honestly, I was really trying to think back and go like, why did it come back to what was it? So maybe it was social media, and that I was seeing something, but it was NETE back when like Bitcoin and like tea companies were getting into that shit, the buzz, right? Like that run up into everything. And then I think I'd put a couple thousand in, and then I was still working at the time. So it wasn't anything that I was really active in the markets in. It was like, okay, everybody's doing this. Let me put some money down. And seriously, like so foolish. I didn't even realize that they did a reverse split. And I think with my broker, I had that company set for news. And there was some kind of news where the stock went like 20% in a day. But granted, I completely missed the news that they reverse split. So, and I hadn't even looked at it for for months, and I thought I was rich, like a rich bitch. Like I thought I had this many shares, and I completely missed the fact that like, I had 30,000 shares, and they did a reverse split. And like it was all just, again, I'm working not anywhere at the level that I am now. Completely missed everything. And then I went, okay, like this is just not for me. And I think it was more, you're going to find stuff volatile, but again, I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't know what the fuck I was getting into in the first place. There was
I went
business.
the opposite direction. So I got reverse split on the first time I was trading OTCs too. And I went the opposite. I wanted to know what the hell just happened and why this stock is up a substantial amount and I didn't make any money.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's so funny how things work.
Well, no, I didn't make any money. I thought we were getting lobster steak, and I wouldn't even know how to explain it, even if we were. But I thought there was like, oh, I got this. But again, like anything that I understood from a financial perspective was like a fundamental, which I don't, and I still don't do fundamentals. It's just not my thing. I didn't even know that there was this whole other side that was technical and money driven, or different ways to understand the market. And so it was a big hit, and it really hurt. But at the same time, it was kind of those blessings in disguise that said, you ain't getting my money again. Fuck that. So it was more of that, okay, what is going on? And so
you don't remember the ticker symbol?
It was NETE. It was that when all that, I don't even remember the other ticker. When that other ticker with David's T, like everybody was doing Bitcoin like way before. And if anybody said Bitcoin, and they could be a clothing, a purse company, they could be a shoe company, they could be a like fucking
any kind of company, basically.
Any company. And if you said Bitcoin, you ran that day. You ran that day. But what I got caught up in was you ran that day. It doesn't mean you run and you run and you run and you run. It doesn't work that way. And especially from, my little window at that time was not full time at the screens. monitoring positions. It was just like, oh, I'm doing this. We doing this, and that's it. And it doesn't work that way. And so there's a definite need to know your lane as far as what your time constraints are, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So another question we had for you was, what other markets do you trade now? And I know you said you traded OTC before, and you was like, hell no. So, first of all, what do you trade currently, and what other markets do you trade besides that?
I'm like 90% options, and I just, to be honest, I don't have the curiosity into anything else because I don't feel like I've even exhausted or mastered what I'm working with in and of itself to go explore NFTs or crypto or anything else. Like, I'm vanilla. I'm going to be straight. I'm vanilla. Like, I just don't even have that extra because I'm still so focused on trying to really hone in on what I have in my forefront. And so blue chips, equities, options, and I stay in my lane. And maybe that's okay. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing anything, and I see gains all the time with others that are exploring other things, and that's great. Like, I love to celebrate anybody who is succeeding. It doesn't mean that I have to be right there with them if it is not my lane. So that's so important, and I learned that early on. And so I'll take us to another sector of this conversation with, I know money flow, and I didn't know that. But something I learned early on through a lot of failures was I'm struggling to learn technical analysis. Like, I don't fucking get it. I just don't. I've got 18 things on my charts and nothing's telling me anything. It's not working for me. And then what I realized quickly was like to back the fuck off, and I need to know where is money flowing, because that made more sense to me. I don't want to know what retail is chattering about. I want to know where big motherfuckers are putting their money to work. I want to
That's
know
right.
where. I don't care that you or somebody else or somebody else or somebody else is talking about or potentially pumping a stock. I know what is true. I know that if there is money flow into a name, I'm better aligned in the shadows of larger market participants, which actually move markets. So everybody can talk, and there can be all this chatter of retail, and that can work for one day and fail for 8. Or I can start to kind of try to align a little bit more, and it's not sexy at all. It just isn't. Um, there's a patience game with that. Like, I like to be able to see when stuff's occurring ahead of the moves, and it's usually in consolidation. It's not something that's going to happen right away. But I feel like I have a little bit of an insight or an edge into stuff that everybody isn't watching, and I'd rather have that opposed to trying to buy something when it's moved for 6 days and people are still trying to pump it for some reason.
Yeah. So, we talking about these options for people in here who don't trade options. Um, can we get a little bit into what the flow is? Because a lot of people aren't familiar with money flow. I recently, in the last 6 months, have just started getting accustomed to money flow. Can you give us an explanation to the best of your ability what the flow is and what money flow is?
For sure. So we're talking about two separate things as far as what I look at. When I say money flow, I think it's important to capture everything that we have the ability to have visibility to. Um, so I'm trying to watch larger market participants and how they're positioning. And that's going to come from first dark pool activity, which is common shares. So that's really important. Common shares. That is not options flow. That's going to be completely separate. But oftentimes, what you'll find is you've got some positioning coming into dark pool before they actually start to come into options flow. And options is going to be the activity that trades on the options exchange. And that's lit. So let's go back first to dark pool. Dark pool is common shares that's traded on a dark pool exchange. And that may sound so ambiguous in and of itself, because by default, I think people go and run with that. Like, oh, there's dark pool activity. What the fuck? It's an exchange, which just means it's private. So you and I are typically changing or trading on a lit exchange, which means we have access to the open order book. That is the level 2. We're able to see where they're positioning on the time and sales versus a dark pool exchange, which means that they're kind of like the Wizard of Oz. There's that curtain, and we don't really know what their intent is, but that is why they're trading there. So let me first say, there is not, it's not to cloak retail. It's not this, oh, let's fuck retail and it's ape nation. It's not like that. There's nothing unusual about it, but there is a lot of activity that trades on a dark pool exchange. It just means that you have to be able to have some sense in how you're interpreting that information. And primarily I say that because there is this whole, Ape Nation, or there's different stuff where retail is getting attached. I don't care what it be, whether it be this way, an options trade that goes this way, but it's important to kind of just call a spade at times. And so while we don't know if a dark pool is a buy or sell, we're using that pricing level as additional activity to say, okay, are we closing above, below? Where are we at in retrospect to the activity that's coming in? But more than anything, it actually has to be something unusual. So let's start with that, because you'll have everybody going, oh, $200,000 in Apple dark pool activity. Apple trades 80 fucking thousand shares a day. You want me to look at 200,000 share dark pool activity? No, bro. Not gonna happen.
Bro, she stole your bro.
No.
I know. I was thinking about that right now. I was like, whoa, she's my girl right now. I was like,
right.
Okay.
Said, bro.
No. So let's hone it in a little bit. So Apple trade. So when somebody posts 200,000 share dark pool print in Apple, pay attention. Fuck that. There's nothing to see there, because in general, Apple trades legit 80 million shares a day. What the fuck is 200,000 shares going to do? You want to talk about something? You want to talk about the 12.5 million shares that came through when it hit the $3 trillion level, and we have not been able to touch that since? So it's showing signs of distribution. It doesn't mean that it's always a buy. And that's the other thing that fucking pisses me off.
Anybody I love that you're clearing this up too, Mel. I don't even mean to cut you off, but I love that you're clearing that up, because I see a lot of people use the dark pool and the flow, and they use it incorrectly. So I love that you're clearing this up.
And I just want everybody to be open-minded. But if somebody is saying a dark pool print's occurring, it does not mean it's a buy. We don't know if it's a buy or sell. Look at context. I want you to take the daily chart and look at that. And then I want you to be a hedge fund that's managing $3-5 billion. Is that where you're laying down $12.5 million in shares or 12.5 million shares? No, because you're a hedge fund and you have some sense. It's context for sure. So in the case of Apple, after they hit that 3 trillion that day, we had 12.5 million dark pool shares, which was like over 2 billion in money flow. We have not touched that since. We've continued to see very large dark pool size. And some people, the automatic that they go to is, if they see a dark pool print, they go buy. And it's not the case. It just isn't. And you have to be able to go, okay, there is activity. We don't know if it is a buy or sell. You take and zone out that chart, take it into a daily and then the weekly. What does that really look like? Because what you may get mixed into because of what you want to see or what general crowd think would be is that it's always a buy, and it's not. It's not at all. And so I try to update those also in my timeline. It's just like, we haven't closed above that. Price is not holding. Price is not holding, which would mean it's more distributional. But on the flip side, there are also a lot of opportunities and stuff that you can catch that you normally wouldn't see, especially when we're working with a lot of rotation right now, comparatively. So any questions or I'll pause there.
I was about to go there. What exactly do you suggest that people trying to read dark pool prints, what resources are out there for people trying to read dark pool prints and the money flow? Do you recommend for people? Because like I said, there's so much misinformation. I've watched people lose money because just following the flow or just following the prints, and I'm really curious to know what information is out there to get people to correctly read into these the money flow.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. I'm a subject of seat time, and that's important. And there's something that you just won't get unless you do that and you experience it for yourself. Oftentimes you can see somebody who makes a banger trade bringing down this much, but if you don't understand how they did that or got there, you'll never be able to recapture that. And so what I'm trying to say is just it's more of sitting with it for a while. And why I say that is what kind of brought me here and for my love for money flow was just a frustration with technicals. When I first started out, I was trying to put, like I said, a gazillion indicators on my chart. And I had like 18 different things going off. And I was like, what the fuck? I just can't do this. Like, this is positive, diverted, blah, blah, blah. Like nothing ever really worked. Personally, for me, it was more about money flow. And the biggest observance that I had was like 5 years ago was Snap. When you had 6 million, 8 million, 10 million shares going off, when like Snap was trading at $4 or $5. And when you look at that chart, is that where an institution is looking to accumulate or distribute? They're not getting rid of that many shares at $4, $5, and $6. Not with that size. And so it doesn't mean that's your weekly trade and go YOLO, but it's definitely something to keep your eye on in the sense of there is accumulation.
Would you say you definitely spent some time doing this and then you basically reverse engineered everything to figure it all out?
Yeah, it's seat time, doll. It's seat time For sure. It's just the observation of, okay, like, or let's be realistic. I mean, I don't have to be a genius to say, hey, is this where they dump shares or pick up shares? Sometimes you really do just have to go to the daily, go off the fucking 1 minute, go to the daily and say, if I was an institution, would I be distributing shares or would I be accumulating shares? And you have to look from a different perspective outside of what the general think tank is doing, and have a little intuition in the sense of, if I was an institution. And that's a lot for a lot of people, because there's not even a lot of individual think, let alone from group think, let alone to go, hey, I don't need Reddit right now. If I were to look at this chart, what would I personally think is occurring?
Mel, that leads me to my next question, because, you know, I believe it takes time, right, and a lot of experience to learn a lot of this. And I know people are going to ask, like, do you do any mentorships? And then if you do, how do they get a hold of joining?
I'm a full-time moderator with Black Box Stocks. I've definitely worked through a lot of different platforms, but they didn't have all of the information, which was really frustrating. I am very dependent on the information that I'm looking at. Like, I have to know that if I'm seeing something and what I'm analyzing is actually all of the information. And so I don't personally do any mentorships, but I am on voice all through the trading day with Black Box Stocks, going through the options flow.
Okay.
Because I specialize in that, and that's something, you know, like I don't, which is important. If you're following money flow, you have to make sure that you understand what you're looking at.
Right.
And most people puppy trade. They go, oh, there's options flow there, but what they're looking at is bubble gum. I mean, essentially saying that they're looking at people positioning in weeklies that have 30 or 40,000 behind it, and that's not really money flow in the essence of looking at really true positioning. That's momentum flow. You've got a
Right.
good little trade there, but unfortunately what people will do is hold on to weekly options because they saw something in options flow, and then it creates just the wrong idea of how to trade money flow, because you're looking for what you want to see and you don't really know how to analyze it. And so you're following something that has $20,000, which could essentially mean that I put that down myself or another big trader. That's not real positioning. So I just add that as a little caution, because I know that there are a lot of services and a lot of people do that. Oh, there was options flow, and I'll go look it up and go, $12,000? That's not money flow, bro. That's bubble gum. There's nothing there. There's nobody saying like they're laying some wood in some positioning. You're seeing what you want to see in the trade you are in. There's a big difference.
You're only seeing what you want to see until you know what you're looking at. I posted up on top like some of your posts to kind of reference some of the trades or the flows that you're talking about. What would be your number one tip for a beginner trader?
I'm going to echo probably what so many. First off, like, oh my God, you guys have an amazing YouTube channel. And I started listening. Like,
are you spying on us now?
I was creeping. I creeped. And how the hell do you have these amazing traders and like 30 people liking? Y'all, Come on.
We're about to optimize. It needs to be optimized better. So
okay. So let me push this right now. The OTC on YouTube, because I couldn't even get like there were so many amazing ones that like I personally were trying to listen to, and I'm like, what the fuck? Only 40 people? Jesus. Come on, y'all. Like, follow good content. These girls are pushing this shit like crazy. I love them.
We love you, Mel.
No, it's amazing.
She gave us the greatest cosign just now. Make sure you.
No, but like I looked at the YouTube and I'm like, 13 people like this guy who is amazing. Jesus. This is like y'all running the vault over here. Y'all gonna lock that shit up and charge it later. Y'all better get it now.
We're gonna try to, Mel. That's what we working at it, right, Christine?
I think it's gonna work. I think that'll work.
Oh, thank you, Mel.
You gotta learn and follow whatever it is that works for you. So early on, I was like, okay, technical analysis and learning this shit isn't working for me. I want to know where is money going. I found early on for me that larger market participants drive the market. I want to know what the fuck they're doing. That's what worked for me. That's my lane. But it doesn't mean that has to be what works for you. You can explore other avenues and other options. And if you are a badass and a master with OTC and that is your lane, you can certainly explore and understand what other people are doing, because I respect everybody that puts content out. And I always am like interested in that. I love that. Anybody who has a specialty that's willing to share that and is putting that out for other people, I love it. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to work for me, but like I can definitely appreciate for that. So know your lane. Find out what works for you. And if it's technical analysis that's working for you, drive it. If it is your deep dive into fundamentals, go for it. Like understand whatever is calling you, right? Like whatever it is that is like you have a natural exploration for, that is your calling.
I agree with it.
Yes.
I know Tigress is in the audience clapping her hands because I've been trying to get her into other stuff. And she's just like, I'm not into that. But
no, but I love that because that is her lane, right? And and like I see her here, I see her, but she knows it so well, and it's what she has specialized in, and so I'm not here to knock anybody else. Like we each have our own natural calling, but Tigress is also a blessing with sharing it with all of us. That is her lane. And if that's something that you find an attraction to, she's definitely somebody who's sharing that information and is going to get that across for you. And we thank you for that, Tigress, like for sure, because we're each going to have something that's going to resonate with us individually.
That's
we're not all going to be the same, and nobody's right, nobody's wrong. More importantly,
and girls rule, right?
Yes.
Since we're giving Tigress a shout out, girls rule, traders rule. We're smarter than everybody. Anyway, so
whoa.
Bye, Matt. I know we talked about the flow, but I want to know about Mel's flow, Mel's daily flow. Can you tell us how you start your day? How do you end your day when it comes to trading? I need to know your setup. What's going on with Mel? Do you listen to music when you wake up? Do you talk to people throughout your trading? What goes on your trading day?
I'm a full-time moderator with Black Box Stocks, so I'm on voice all through the trading day. We get started about 8:15. Sorry, I'm Central, so 9:15. About 15 minutes before the market, and then I'm on all day talking options flow. Like I just don't shut up. but it's not just talking just to talk. It's talking about what is actually unusual, whether it be dark pool activity that's coming through or options flow. And that's a little bit different from what others do in the sense that we have moderators live going through that information. So I'm all day talking flow, and the setups kind of can come from that, because if it's a ticker that I know will move from options flow, like I'm jumping. I don't even have to look at the chart. Like there are tickers that I know when we got options flow, they move. And because what else is happening? You have a market maker on the other side that is looking to cover shares to be able to take that positioning. It's also a lower float. It may have higher short interest. It just becomes a rhythm, and it's my rhythm. That's what I specialize in, and what I'm comfortable with. So I love sharing that with others when I can. I definitely try to share as much as possible, on Twitter. Um, I'm not trying to just to share. It's like, God, I'd rather not if I don't have to. I'm a mom. I have
Well,
a
I'm
son. I have a
glad.
family.
Oh yeah,
I
you're a mom now.
Yes, I've got a little kiddo. I've got an 11-year-old. I'm a wife. I'm a lot of things that all the
Mm-hmm.
women are, And so if I'm sharing something, it's just really to try to like go, hey, wait, like, look, this is important. It's not to just like, I don't really fucking care about followers, like I'd rather get some sentiment out about, like actual money flow and catching those opportunities before they are, eh, like the stock's up 15%. I'm not trying to pump something when it's already made its move. That's not really the best risk reward, and really doesn't help newer traders. I'd rather try to find some stuff and share some stuff that's interesting before it's made its move.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got a lot to share there. But I mean, I'm just like any other female out there. I'm juggling a household just like you are.
Mm-hmm.
Doll, just like
You
you
already
are,
know. You
Christine, just
already
like
know. Mm-hmm.
Tigress. I know you got 3 little kiddos at home. We're all trying to do, a lot with what we've got going on, and also try to add a little bit of value. So just trying to do the same.
I love that you shared all that with us, Mel. And I really, you traded with me before, and
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
technical analysis girl. I love technicals. I love looking at charts and things like that. So, it's just refreshing hearing the other side of things and how you trade. And I'm really curious to start implementing, black box stocks into my trading routine. But I know we have to get to questions from the panel first, right, Christine?
Yes, definitely. And I know Matt probably has some questions for you, and so does Uncle Chad. And then we'll go to the audience. So if you guys have questions for Mel, go ahead and start requesting now.
Yeah, I've just enjoyed really listening to this. I did not know of you prior. Obviously, I see a lot of the big boards, so I'm strictly OTC. But super breath of fresh air. I love your attitude and your vibe. So a no shit, no don't give a shit attitude and no bullshit taking kind of thing. So yeah, super genuine, super humble. So I've just been soaking this in. Love it. Thank you. And there was something I had on a note before, and then I got distracted. So we'll have to come back. But thank you so much.
Yeah, come back to it.
Appreciate the kind words. And if you come back to it, definitely let me know or
For
shoot me
sure.
a DM.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Uncle Chad.
Hey guys, hey, it was great listening to you. I had to, kind of ditto Matt there. I guess my question is, what was your aha moment when you saw, money flow or dark pool movements and things like that? What was your aha moment trade that really made you step up and say, "Now I get it"? And I guess my second question is, did you pay any attention to any of the dark pools or money flows that occurred, last year through the GME AMC stuff? And what are your
Aha,
opinions on those?
aha moment was definitely the turning point with COVID. There were so many larger trades that were occurring. I think Mnuchin had come on, and that was like what, New Year's Eve, whenever it was. But you had like Visa with 7 million shares. Like, you were seeing very unusual, and it's stuff that you didn't ever see before, money flow wise.
Yep.
So stuff that, again, it's not what you normally see, so it is unusual. The GME AMC, I I'm sorry, I think that there is a disservice to I
I agree with you.
ultimately I feel
I know
like
what you mean.
there is a hoodwink to retail, and a year and a half ago, yes, maybe there was that trade to where Reddit could get on and they pushed a few things. But anything that's been occurring lately before the run, you've had some money flow in. And I don't think that there is, because again, it's vocal, right? I mean, like, they're looking at this at
Yeah.
the same time. You don't have the same edge. So before this all happened, and before the GME and AMC run up, and a lot of this, um, even though you had some dark pool activity before that, you also caught Wall Street off guard. You're not doing it now,
Yeah. Nope,
because
they're paying
there's
attention now.
chatter, there's retail chatter, and they're paying attention to it, and they can run it. So there's stuff that's already occurring, knowing that it will get retail chatter. So what happened
Yep.
first? Chicken or egg? Chicken and egg before it got anywhere. So when a stock's seriously doing nothing for, 15 days, but you've had dark pool activity, that's unusual, 1 million, 2 million, where you never see that stuff, right?
It's almost like they handed you the omelet right there on the table.
Yes,
I mean, just
yes, exactly. But then let's say 7 or 8 days from now it runs, they're already in. They're already positioned for you to run that. So thank you for running Wall Street stock up. And is that counteractive to, I don't know, what are we doing here? Like,
yeah, exactly.
and I don't really, you know, I, I just
Speak freely,
wish,
Mel. Don't be afraid.
yes, but I mean, I just wish that anybody. So let's talk about like this next year, and that was one of the questions. This year is going to be hard as fuck. You better be able to recognize some rotation. You better be able to look. I mean, in the last year, you could have just thrown a dart and bought the fucking dip. It's not going to be the same. And that gain porn is not going to be there. And are you really going to fuck a guy who has AIG on their Lambo? Because maybe that's the
I'm
one.
cracking up. Oh my God, Mel.
Maybe that's the one that
What about the
really.
Doge? What about Doge, man? Are
No,
you
no,
going to
it's
No,
gonna
no,
be
you heard that.
no, it's gonna be PRU.
Oh shit!
And are
You're
you
killing me,
really gonna
Smalls.
get PRU on that? I mean, like, what? Okay, so it's a
You answered it perfectly.
whole new landscape.
Are you playing or anticipating on playing anything within this new crypto sphere, metaverse sphere within
It's not
your
my
world?
lane. It's not
Not
my
your lane.
lane.
All right.
No, it's not my lane. It's not anything that I've spent any time with, nor can I really construct. It's just, I'm still trying to get my own little world So what I'm looking at, China. And as much as that is so hard because of every previous news headlines, I've heard it all. I can't, it's risky, I know,
It's really
but
supply now, right? It's their regulation, and can they get a handle on the supply into us?
I'm going to tell you, I don't really look at anything news wise. The only thing that I'm looking at is they didn't necessarily inject quantitative easing like we did comparatively. And when
Oh
you
yeah, not even close.
look, yeah, and where we're tapering and we're going the other way, there is an opportunity there. And so just to kind of add a little bit of context and what I'm looking at as far as uh, it just hasn't stopped. I'm I'm just China as far as it all can go in a broader perspective. So I don't want this to necessarily be a weekly pick. I don't really know that I have a weekly pick. I just think that, um, look, when there's blood in the streets, you know, is not what everybody wants to look at, is not favorable, but it's something to keep on your watch list and
And you
know.
don't want to do everything that everybody's doing. You're trying to do something a little bit different so you can either experience a much bigger gain or reduce your losses, right?
Yeah, but it's hard. I mean, I know it's hard because China has been extremely headline stricken, but right now, the money flow that we're seeing, I think you can definitely say is a little bit different from what we have had before and worth paying attention to. And it's not a weekly, so this doesn't mean like, oh, weeklies, got it right now. No, it is to kind of give a little bit of an overview into some of the money flow that is occurring. But when you have ASHR, for those that don't know, that's Asher, that is a um, China ETF with almost 6 million share dark bull print and 3812. Average volume there is 3.16 million shares a day. Ran a relative vol on Friday at 5.5. If you look at that chart, this is the largest volume day it's had since 7/8 2020.
Always moving.
So
That's
before we get into Pashoy, before we get to his questions, I want to say, hey Vegas, how you doing? Thank you for coming up here and
Hey,
supporting all
Vegas.
these ladies in the OTC Club always.
Hi, ladies. So loving to be here with all of you and
Yay!
loving the
We
Money Flow
love Vegas,
Mel.
don't we?
Love
That's
you
a real thing.
guys. I love you guys. And you guys talking some hot money. Looks
Mm-hmm.
good, Mel. Looks hot. Tape's looking hot. Looking hot. Dark pool's hot. Pay
Exactly.
attention to the dark pool. You guys got to pay attention. Gotta scream that to
Exactly.
everybody this week.
Especially all
Pay
the
attention.
especially all the gems she been dropping,
Oh,
Vegas
yeah. Oh,
gems,
yeah.
Mel. But
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to go ahead and go to Pashoy's question. Hey Pashoy.
Yo, how are you guys? I miss you guys. How are you?
What's up? What's up? Long
Good,
time no
good,
talk
good.
to.
Yo, okay. So Mel, just a surprise. I didn't even know you coming on today. It was amazing. Learned a lot from you, and just had a quick question. So, this is kind of odd, but is is that illegal in a sense to see that there are trades going in before it's even, you know, shown to the public? I'm obviously not like a FBI agent. I'm fucking 17 years old. I don't care. It's just more on like a, like how is it even to do that? How is it, why doesn't everybody know about that? How did you figure out about it? How did you get into it? Um, that's kind of where my question's at. It's kind of odd, but I was just curious. Yeah.
Pashoy, you the feds. Federale. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Mel.
Okay. So, Bashori, good question. You're 17, and it is the same that a 50-year-old would have, or anybody else that'd be looking at the market. It is not anything unusual or illegal. A dark pool. Give me a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So a dark pool print means it transacted on a dark pool exchange. It sounds ambiguous. It sounds dirty. It sounds like the fucking cartel. It is not. It is where most volume is traded. And what that means is it is a white guy behind a curtain that nobody can see, which means that the lit market is where you and I trade because we can see the open order book. We have access to level 2. On a dark pool exchange, there is no level 2. However, any transaction that has occurred in an underlying must still be recorded to the consolidated tape, the time and sales. That is the recording for any activity in an underlying. There is no way to know if a dark pool print is a buy or a sell, because the intent of a dark pool trade is to conceal that activity. So your volume bar that shows green or red or whatever tells you nothing. Not going to happen. What else is a common misnomer?
People think the dark pool is like the dark web.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's a different
It's not.
exchange.
So let's normalize it in a sense to where there's a little bit better understanding of what it is versus what it's not. Okay. So there is a large amount of volume that occurs on dark pool exchange, but the purpose of exchanging there is to not disrupt what the current auction is. However, all volume in an underlining has to be recorded, and that occurs on the time and sale. So take everything that you know about level 2 or anything, take and just look at and think right now about time and sales. Consolidated tape time and sales is an accounting record for an underlining for whatever ticker you were looking at. And anything that occurs has to be recorded because every equity is essentially accounting record. So anything that occurs must be recorded. You are never going to not report volume that happens on a ticker. So whether that happens on a lit market, which is where you and I trade, which is where the current auction process occurs, versus a dark pool exchange that comes through and records their transactions on the time and sales, we're still going to know. If you have access to that information that's going to show you that dark pool activity, you will know. And there's not anything dark or there's no ape shit going on, essentially.
Awesome. Let's go to Dave. What's up, Dave?
Okay. Thank you so much for that. And like I'm never like it wasn't the intent on being against you or anything. It was just like a curious thing to there's a lot of iffy, stingy things that people do, and I'm not saying that you were doing that at all. It was obviously just a curious question, but I do know people that it just all comes in with insider trading and all that bullshit and all pumping connected with you at all. It was definitely just, just a curious question. And I get that, there are private brokers. There are things that we can't see, and there are things you can use to see those things. And that's probably what the dark pool is. I appreciate it so much, Mel. And thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to speak. That was fucking amazing. I love you guys. Let's make some money. Week 2, baby. Let's go.
All right, Pishoy.
Let's do this.
You're 17, so you're allowed to say bad words, I guess.
But, all right, go ahead, Dave.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me up. Christine, Stacky Robinson, Mel, it's great to meet you guys. I really appreciate you having me up here. I find these conversations fascinating because I used to be a market maker for 10 years, actually, on Wall Street. I worked for a firm out in New York, rather Jersey City. So I got to peek behind the curtain and see exactly everything that was going on, the insides and the outs. And up and they obviously just quit because I just wasn't feeling fulfilled. It was just a bunch of dudes in a room. But there's a couple things I want to say, if it's okay. The one thing is, when I first passed my Series 7, 63, then 55 to be able to trade, I was on an OTC equity desk, and we were trading bulletin board, pink sheets, NASDAQs, and everything else. I was going to be an assistant, and there was one female trader in the room, and I got put with her, and it was the best thing that ever happened to my trading career in my life. Because while all the other assistants, when we go out to lunch, we're talking about, he's yelling about this, yelling about that, I was actually being taught. So whatever financial market you're in, whether it's stocks, crypto, this, that, whatever, I genuinely feel that we need more women in all of them because this misnomer of women are emotional is total and utter bullshit, in my opinion. And that's based off of my experience. Like, women, like, when it comes to money, they're the most disciplined people ever. And I saw it day in, day out. And I wouldn't have changed for 2.5 years. I would not have changed that assistant role like for anything. So I want to give you guys your props on that one.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, of course. Not trying to flatter, but I'm stating the obvious, But
Yeah.
my question to Mel is, so when I left the business, right, it was right as dark pools were starting to come about, right? So what we had before dark pools was market on close orders, if you remember those. I don't know if you do. So, and I'm talking strictly about equities. I'm not talking about options. Okay, awesome. So when we had market on close orders, it was like, okay, we have these market on close orders, and what would happen is right at the bell, you would create a position right throughout the day, whether it was using the VWAP, right, the volume weighted average price, and you'd build it up, see what they have, boom, you cross orders, done, this was the price. And then they decided that was kind of inefficient. And then what they did was they started creating these dark pools. Now, I have a best friend who is working for, she's head of technology services for a company in New York. I'm not going to shill a company or anything, but she's super familiar with dark pools. And it's funny that we were actually talking about this the other day because she was asking me about crypto because, to me,
send her my way too, Dave. Send her my way.
Yeah, I absolutely will, for sure. She's an absolute gem of a human being. She would love to talk to you guys. Like, she's been in this business forever. She's super duper smart, so I'd be happy to. I texted her. I'd be like, you need to get in here right now, but I guess she's a little bit busy. But no, the thing I wanted to say was, I think so I don't mean it to come off as challenging, but it's like, I think maybe sometimes because it's called a dark pool, it has a really negative connotation, when at the end of the day, the dark pool was created more so for the buy side than it was the sell side, meaning me, the market maker. It wasn't created for me. It was created for the pension funds, right? It wasn't created really for the hedge funds. It was created for the pension funds, the teachers, the mutual funds, right? Like, that's where this stuff was kind of going. And of course, there's the other quote dark side of it, right, because of the lack of transparency. And then all of a sudden you got high frequency trading firms that are just like, we're going to get there a second or two earlier because we've seen it, and then we're going to start sniping with our algorithms. So I think it started off well intentioned, just like a lot of things do, And I think nothing's obviously going to be perfect. But I kind of wanted to just like stress that example. And in terms of what they are, I can't speak to options. I was never an options trader. This is just on the equity side. I just kind of wanted to make that clear. But the whole purpose of a dark pool is so that, hey, because when we used to get orders, right, before even market on close, and we used to see it was like, all right, we just got an order from Fidelity to buy, 500,000 shares of ABCD at $15. As a market maker, I can literally put myself up there at 1502, and I know that I have it good, good till cancel or good to the end of the day. I put myself up there at 1502. It's not considered front running because I'm the market maker. I'm exempt from all those rules, right? I can accumulate, and I know that I have a 2-cent backstop, right? So now it's like, okay, if they're not doing it, I can assure you that we were doing it. I promise you that we were doing it, and we were doing it often. We were making a lot of money off of it. And what they would do is they'd call back up on the telephone and they'd say, all right, up us to 1505, 1510. And now we've accumulated 30, 40, 50,000 shares. And now we just made 10 cents on that. And that's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So it's like, all right. Now, were there traders that abused it? Yeah, they were. We were not one of them. We did it, although we did do it from time to time. But there were people that were really, really abusing it. So, like, I completely 100% understand. And hold on, I wrote something else the other question that I had for you, Mel, was you said you're mostly technical. Like you follow pretty much like the technical analysis.
She said fundamental.
Oh, she had fundamental.
Yeah.
No, not fundamental. Let me no, that's not at all. More technical. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So I did hear it. Okay, gotcha. So, and more technical for the option side, or are you mentioning stocks as well?
As in, I am a money flow trader. So I'm looking at options flow and dark pool activity. Money flow in and of itself as a driver before I even look at stocks. So essentially building a watch list around
Gotcha.
that.
Gotcha. So, the one thing, and now this was a while ago, I'm not going to date myself too far. I'm not too old. But I know that you're asking like, like there are tools out there nowadays that you can pretty much have access to everything that's on a Bloomberg terminal, right? So we obviously used to trade off of the Bloomberg terminal, everything that Bloomberg was. They started the first dark pool way back in, I don't know what it was, 2011 or 2013, something like that. But there are tools that are out there that I think can definitely help you. But I want to make a gentle suggestion. In terms of fundamentals, this is just my opinion, right? And like you said, whatever works for everybody works for everybody. But understanding the fundamentals, if you don't know what this company does, what the management team does, what their core business is, right? And you're just following the money, right? I think you're almost selling yourself short, Mel, in a way, right? It's almost like an incomplete model. And it's like, I think like the puzzle can be fully completed and you can make a ton more money. And I'm sure you've been super successful. I think like understand, and I'm curious what you think about it, like understanding like who the management team is, what are they doing, what are their projections, like how much money are they earning, like that kind of fundamental analysis combined with what you're currently doing. Do you think that could be like a really, really effective tool?
So I'm gonna say something to that because I trade. I don't just invest. It depends on what you're doing, Dave. I know Mel. She day trades, swing trades, and things like that. So, when you're making a day trade, you don't have time to really look at some of these companies. You get what I'm saying? You don't really have time, so you're going straight off of like me. I'll go off the chart. How is this thing moving and things like that. So, depending on what you're doing, like if I'm doing a swing or even a long-term trade. I'll do some deep dives. I'll do some DD, especially for OTCs. If I'm trading that, you got to dive a little deeper. So to me, it just depends on how you're trading, what you're trading, and like the time frame.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
No, that definitely makes sense. That was definitely good context.
Yeah, Doll's got it for sure. It's all about what your individual context is, and you gave a really good summary of a lot of the analytics behind what happened. I'm not saying so. Let me just I don't think that the dark pool is something that is nobody knows what's going on at all. I'm more trying to bring light to what's occurring because I think that it's out there, and too many people say, "Oh, there's something happening here, and everybody needs to pay attention." Like that's the last thing I'm trying to do because it's something that I see too much of to think that it's hiding from people. But in the same context, it's going to absolutely depend on what you're looking at in your own individual context, which makes it hard. So I'm not curtailing your observation in any way in the sense of what you may be looking at, because you have to realize your audience, and that's something I'm so familiar with because you have a lot of people here that will say, you said this, and they're looking at weeklies, and that's not necessarily the context of the chart. When you have bigger activity, so it's a context game for sure, and I think that's something that you definitely get, and you're aware of the general consensus. I don't think it's a hoodwink game. I think if it's something that you're not familiar with, that you're just not familiar with, and that there is plenty of resources for you to gain access to. I personally use Black Box Stocks. I mean, I'm not going to try to do a plug that this is the only way you can get that information. Not at all. I post plenty, but I don't think it's if you don't have this, you don't know. I think there's a lot of information out there for sure. I just hope it's used in the best correlation. And when I say that, I mean it's looking at the chart and do you have activity coming in at an area of support or resistance? Because if I posted something on Apple with some large dark bull activity at 182.50, that's fucking distribution. So that can happen too. And most people don't see that in that same way.
And I think sometimes when people are on the other side of things, they tend to don't understand the other side. So he was behind the scene market making, not really a trader. So his opinion was based off his experience, and I think that's what he was getting at. But Mel, I've seen it. Your method works. So like you said, we're going to continue doing it. You know what I mean? But we have one more question, then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up from Galaga. Hey, Galaga. Oh, he dropped down. All right, Christine.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess thank you guys so much. I was waiting to hear what his question was, but thank you guys so much for joining us. And Mel, thank you so much for coming on the OTC Club. We appreciate it. I've learned so much. I was taking notes before I started driving. And this is recorded, so it's going to be on YouTube. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. And yeah, Doll, do you want to close things out?
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at the OTC Club. Come back this Wednesday for West Coast Wednesday, Thursday for NFT and crypto Thursdays, and also
Wednesday for Matt.
Yeah, I just said that.
Oh.
Christine, you hear me?
And then make sure you guys follow Mel.
Make sure you follow
Rock
Matt.
stars.
Matt has been here. Matt is our guy. So, and this Sunday, who do we have this Sunday, Christine?
Sunday we have, let me double check really quick.
While she double
Wolf
checks,
Financial.
we have our friend, our long-term friend, somebody who started Spaces around the same time we started Spaces, and his Space has grown substantially, just like ours. Wolf Financial, if you're
Yes.
not familiar with him, that is our buddy. But
Yes.
we also will be dropping YouTube videos, so go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube. We will have some reviews on companies and reviews on crypto projects. So it will be posted solely on our YouTube. We'll share it with you guys here on Twitter. But go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But anyway, you guys, thank you for joining us here on the OTC Club. Follow everybody up here. Thank you, Mel, for joining us.
Thank you, Mel.
Happy Sunday, y'all.
Happy Sunday. You guys are rock stars. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Love it.
Bye.
Love it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Definitely love the YouTube. I'm gonna go back and listen to a few that I should have already been listening to.
Thanks, Mel. Now you could listen to yourself on there.